Fantasy Rap
with Austin and Ozzy.
Oh, I just love those boys.
Hey everyone, this is Fantasy Rap, and I'm your host Ozzy.
And I'm your co-host Austin.
You can find us on fantasyrap.com. That is fantasywrap.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the follow-up for Week 9. It is Monday, so we don't have all the scores in and everything, so our studs and duds and injuries and all only include, obviously, the games other than the Monday night game. So we can't tell you if we won or not because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I won one of them, but the other two are still in a holding pattern.
Yeah, I'm up by like 30, maybe 40 points. And a guy I'm playing with has, I think, the Jets kicker and the Chargers defense.
Oh.
Maybe the Jets defense tonight. One of the two. So he's got his kicker and defense left. So
Yeah, that's not going
I should be all right, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm playing against Herbert and the Chargers defense.
Yeah.
And I'm up by 27-ish. It's going to be real close.
Yeah.
Really close.
Mm-hmm.
I have to hope that the Jets defense comes through and holds them down. And
Yeah.
we'll see. So injuries. We'll start off with Cordero Patterson. Ankle injury, unknown how bad it is or how long he might be out. Same game, Mac Hollins. Ankle injury, unknown how long he's going to be out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see those two being a huge part of that offense.
No, I mean, they needed it because Drake London was out this week, and then
Right.
you have the hero of Josh Dobbs coming in after Jaron Hall goes down, gets smacked at like the 2-yard line, and he's out for the game. But so I mean they definitely. They're not huge pieces. I mean, you'd still see Cordero. I mean, Cordero was out there in like short yardage. Like they threw a screen to him, and he picked up a first down.
Right.
I mean, that Atlanta. I think Arthur Smith is. He's trying to be too smart, quote unquote.
Okay.
Smart. They were down on like the 1-yard line, and Bijan didn't get a single touch.
Yeah.
Not even a target, anything. They tried to run it in with Algier. So interesting in Atlanta there.
Yeah, at some time, you have to, break the. They have to start making the move. You used a top 10 pick on Bijan.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah. Well, there's a conspiracy that Arthur Smith, because he's said in press conferences that he does not care for and does not like fantasy football players.
Well,
which is fine. But
I don't care one way or the other. That way, I'm saying you invested all of that.
I know, that's why they're saying
draft
there's a half serious conspiracy theory out there that he's doing this to Bijan just because he hates fantasy football players.
Yes, I own 3 fantasy teams. Those cost me a total of 0, but I pay an entry fee.
Yeah.
He owns a how many billion-dollar team?
Yeah.
And he's going to spite. Yeah. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's just weird that you have Bijan who is,
right. Could be
yeah. I mean,
the next stud.
They're comparing Bijan to Adrian Peterson coming out of college.
Yeah.
So, you have a guy drawing those comparisons. I mean, you're just, like I said, smart. He's just being stupid to not use it.
Yep. Next up, we have the guy who gets hurt more often than, I don't know, Christian Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, concussion protocol on his one catch, or did he have 2? Did he have another short one? I don't think he had anything.
Remember. I mean, Love took a shot at him in the end zone, and it was I maybe I wouldn't say underthrown, but
Oh, it was underthrown.
Well, the defender also. I mean, they both were falling, but yeah, it was.
Throw the ball.
Yeah.
Supposedly you've got a strong arm. Throw the ball.
Yeah.
You don't sit here and go, I better make sure that I don't throw it too. Just throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, and Watson has been hugely disappointing for just across, not even just fantasy, just real life as fans.
Right.
Huge disappointment this season.
The second coming of Megatron, supposedly. With the grade that he had on the what's that thing called? RAS scale. I mean, he was like a 10-0 on RAS.
Yeah.
I mean, based on size, speed, weight, everything, explosiveness, he was supposed to be a stud.
Yeah.
And, he showed a little bit of it last year, but, I mean, he's getting outplayed by the likes of Dontavian Wicks. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jaden Reed, who's, he had that big game, that 2-touchdown game quite a few weeks ago. This week he false starts.
Yeah.
And then, but next play, I mean, literally right then, Love goes right back to him on the slant, which was nice to see that there's some trust there.
Yep.
I mean, this is kind of what I was expecting coming into the season. Really frustrating, a lot of ups and downs, more downs than ups.
And I'm fine with the downs.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that. Personally, I wish they'd lose the rest of their games. I wish they would have lost on Sunday. Better draft pick. But when Christian Watson can disappear like he's done, it is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
It's almost like the ball gets thrown to him. He may or may not come down with the catch, but he's injured.
Mm-hmm.
He will catch something. He'll catch an injury.
Kind of like Jalen Waddle. That's a guy too that every game you see him on the sideline getting looked at, or in the tent, or getting up slow from a catch. My buddy texted me. He goes, before the game in Germany started, he goes, would you start Jalen Waddle or Mike Evans this week? And I was like, ooh.
Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, that's why I said Waddle. He's, I mean, if you stay healthy through the whole game, he's got huge. I mean, Mike Evans also has, blow up potential, but Waddle. And
I'm pretty sure Evans blew up this week.
He had a good game. It wasn't like huge. It was good.
No,
it was
like bad.
Oh no! It was solid. Like I think he ended up with it was like 6 for like 80 or something like that. But yeah, so Watson kind of reminds, like I said, kind of like a Jalen Waddle, where he just gets injured on seemingly every play.
Yeah. Next up, we've got John Mechie III. Ribs unknown how long he's going to be out. Again, not a big name player that I'd worry about. I mean, it's kind of like Watson. Do you go look for his replacement? They spread the ball around enough that if he's not there, I don't think it really matters. I don't think you're going to go find one guy.
Yeah, and Mechie's the 5th receiver now in Houston. Even, I mean, obviously he had the cancer, I think it was, out of college and missed the year or 2 years now, and so he's still working back. But I mean, he's got a lot of talent, but I think he's just, he's hasn't had that nice, that time to get into the game. And obviously, like I said, they had that huge explosion of offense for Houston.
They did. Next up is Josh Downs, knee injury, unknown how long he'll be out.
That one kind of sucks for PPR because he was getting a lot of, not a bunch of yardage, but a lot of catches, a lot of targets.
Yeah.
So for PPR, he had been pretty nice. So that one, flex player, you could, that could hurt a little bit. So.
Right. Next up, Josh Palmer, knee injury. He's headed to IR.
Yeah. I mean, he filled in nicely the first and second game that he came in, for Mike Williams, right? Yeah, Mike Williams. And so now you got, their rookie Quentin Johnston, who, it's like I said, he's kind of, to me, is like a Mike Williams clone.
Right.
Size, speed, but it just hasn't translated at all this season. I mean, I drafted him with like my last pick as just a flyer to hold and see what happened. I think week 2 I dropped him because he just wasn't involved at all. So hopefully we see a step up from him. If not, keep seeing more, 6 catches for 100 yards out of Eckler like he did 2 weeks ago. So
yeah. Next up, we have Cam Akers. It can't get bad enough for the Vikings. Week after week, 2 guys out for the season with an Achilles tear. So Cam Akers, and he was starting to look like their preferred back.
Yeah, that was it. That's been kind of an interesting situation too in Minnesota because they're like, oh, Madison's our guy at the beginning of the season, and then doesn't look good and he's not performing.
Well, and the funny thing is, right? And the funny thing is, in the game on Sunday, Madison wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, he had like a big 42-yard.
That was after Akers got hurt, I believe. Okay. So he's not doing anything. Akers gets injured, and then all of a sudden Madison just kind of exploded, which was kind of interesting to me because you're in a competition for your job and you don't really show anything. In fact, like I said, I think it was headed the other way towards Akers, and Akers gets hurt, and you go out and you have a great rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I had picked up Akers 2 weeks ago, or like when he got traded, or maybe not that week, but I had picked him up, and I'm like, all right, well, best case scenario, he takes over and he becomes the lead back, and you could get a solid 10, 12 points out of him every week, which is, that's this year for running backs is pretty damn good.
Right.
I mean, it sucks for Cam too because this is his second Achilles.
Yeah.
Was that his rookie year or second year that he blew out an Achilles? I don't know if it's the same one or not, but that would be
not sure
horrible.
Yeah.
So if it's the same one, I mean, we potentially could be talking a career.
Yeah.
So.
Next up, we've got Jaron Hall, concussion protocol, which was interesting because, probably his only week that he was going to get to start because they had gotten Josh Dobbs. Yeah. And Josh Dobbs came in and pretty much won the game for him. So,
he did.
and he's on our studs list, so you'll hear more about that. So if for some reason you went out and got Jaron Hall, which I don't quite understand. I mean, we talked about it last week, that, Jaron Hall was going to be a 1 weeker, and Josh Dobbs would then take over. Josh is the guy now.
Yeah. So I mean, there was probably somebody out there playing Jaron Hall this week in a super flex because I was in a situation where I missed that Stafford was not gonna play, so there was literally nobody else out there, and I had to pick up Rippin and start.
Yeah, but you didn't have to
super flex.
Yeah, in your super flex you can start it.
Yeah, that's true.
Too.
But
I mean,
my bench in that league isn't very good.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Next up, we have KJ Osborne, another concussion in protocol. So he is.
Yeah, that hit was pretty nasty. He kind of got sandwiched. They brought the cart out with the stretcher, and he ended up standing up and walking over and sitting down on the cart. So that was good to see. But yeah, that one. With Dobbs, I mean. Like I said, we'll talk about it. Came in and for not really knowing the playbook, that well, and I mean, not even really knowing anybody's, obviously he knows names and stuff, but not, the way you should when you're the quarterback, coming in.
Well, and you don't know how quickly people. I mean, I doubt that he had any reps with the first team.
Yeah,
you're just learning, what you're doing. And you step in, but he's a bright guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, isn't he like it was aerospace or something like that, engineer or something like that? But I mean, you get
rocket scientist.
Yeah.
What are you, a rocket scientist? Well, yeah. In fact, I am.
Yep. You get Justin Jefferson back, hopefully. I don't know
he was eligible.
He
was eligible. He's just, maybe it's still bothering him a little bit.
But I've also interesting to see Dobbs. Like I said, he was making Hollywood, Marquise Brown be relevant. Zach Ertz, and then Trey McBride. The other week had that huge week. I mean, he can he can perform at a level that makes the other pieces be viable for
Right.
fantasy.
Yep.
So it'll be crazy. It might not be as big of a drop off for that offense as some people are saying.
I don't think it will, because he also brings a running
Yeah.
ability.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. However, there are already reports out there that Minnesota wants to re-sign
Kirk
Cousins.
Yeah.
So
I think they like him, but that might be more of a please stay Justin Jefferson
Right.
as
Right.
well.
Yep.
Appease him by
I agree. Next up, we've got poor Daniel Jones. Tore his ACL on a non-contact play, backing up in the pocket. He's out for the season. That one's tough. Tyrod Taylor is also injured. I believe he's on IR for 3 more weeks.
I'm not 100% sure with
I
that.
think it's 3 more weeks. So they'll either go with
Danny DeVito, Tom DeVito.
Tom DeVito, or they'll bring Matt Barkley off the practice squad.
He's still in the league? Wow.
He is. He is. So
I'm trying to think if there's any other. I mean, trade deadline's passed, obviously, but I'm trying to think. I mean, anybody
is AJ McCarron on a team?
I don't know.
He was always interesting to me.
He was always on the Bengals.
Yeah, I don't know, and
if
he
he's
may still
there.
be.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, like I said, I can't think of anybody that's just kind of sitting out there,
Well, I do. There's
RG3.
Huh?
RG3.
No.
Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick would love to play for any team in the.
I know he would, but I don't think the league will let. I mean, they make the gesture and everything, with that weird little practice thing, and I don't think they'll ever let him play again. I just think it's it's
Too political. I know.
ratings and views, and that's all that matters. So
I know.
don't think they'll ever let him play in the league again.
You're probably right. Next up, we've got Dallas Goedert, forearm injury. Was watching the game at the time. I always hate when people get hurt, but I was playing against him in my 30-plus year league, so I was kind of like, oh, thank the Lord, because he, all he had to do was catch a touchdown, and I was pretty much done.
Yeah.
I still have a chance. I wouldn't have had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So they utilized some other guys, didn't they?
So remember our Calcaterra from last week? Yeah, apparently he's one of the tight ends for the Eagles, because I saw his name on the bottom scroller when they were looking at the inactive. So, but yeah, I don't even know who their other.
Yeah, I want to say they still threw
but,
to him though, but I don't recall.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got DJ Dallas, shoulder injury, I believe on a kickoff return. I mean, on a return.
Yeah.
Not sure that he was running the ball. I didn't see it, but a backup to a backup.
Yeah.
So not a huge thing.
Nope.
The next one was Treylon Burks. If you saw the play, he was knocked unconscious.
Yeah. One of those
So he's got a concussion. He's in the
ugly-looking ones.
protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he just it was a weird play because he went up for the ball
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of came down and hit, and then rolled over and then was just out.
Yeah, well, I think because he came down on his back, and
right.
His
The head
head
snapped
kicked
back
back,
and hit.
and then because sometimes it just takes a second, for your body to realize what's.
Yeah, it's like the chicken with your head cut off.
Yeah, so yeah, then he, the arms came out, and that one he was laying in that position for quite a while while they came and looked at him, and then he went out on the stretcher, and it sounds like I think I heard that he walked on, like he physically walked on to like the team bus after the game, so I'm sure he'll I would imagine probably miss for sure this week, and if not next week too, with how bad that looked. So
right. Yep. So let's move on to our studs. One shouldn't be surprised at all by the first name, C.J. Stroud, plus 31.26. I was lucky enough to have someone in my Dynasty League pick a wide receiver before.
JSN. Yeah.
Before because I was taking JSN,
Mm-hmm.
and I got stuck with Stroud, and I played him this week, and I mean he was a monster.
Yeah.
30 of 42 passing, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 rushes, 66 yards. No, that's Dobbs. Sorry,
Yep.
no rushes. Sorry. Big game, which is interesting because last week was supposed to be a big game, and I played him, and he didn't do much of anything. Luckily,
Yeah.
I didn't listen to anyone else, and I said, no, I like his matchup this week, so I left him in there. And he scored me in our league, that's like 50 points or something.
Yeah, I think he had like 47 or something in ours. Yeah. Almost 50. But yeah, I mean, he looked good. I mean, that game was so back and forth, and
Took a field goal by Dare Ungabowale,
Yep. Former
Badger running back,
Yeah.
to win the game. Well, not to win the game, but
Mm-hmm.
gave him the 3-point. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it was,
enough that they won.
Yeah, it was first field goal made by a non-kicker since like 2004 by like Wes Welker or something like that.
Okay.
So,
However, because they have moved the extra point way back to like a 33-yard field goal or attempt, Ungabowale did not kick any of the extra points. Hence, they were always going for 2. I was sitting there thinking, why are you guys going for 2 every time? Why are you going for 2? Then I found out that Ungabowale was actually
outside his range.
practicing. Yeah, it was outside his range. So, can we expect this from Stroud going forward? I don't think to this level. I think it's matchup based. He's impressive.
Yeah,
I mean,
been the best rookie quarterback
yes,
so far.
yes.
And that's actually started the majority of games. Obviously, you had Will Levis last week coming in and blowing up, but
But then he came back to reality for the most part this past week.
But because Stroud did he put up a 400-yarder earlier in the season?
I think he
with
did.
like 1 or 2 touch, so it wasn't as big, but he put up like 408 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean that receiving core is. I mean, Nico Collins is he's in my opinion a number 1 receiver. Tank Dell came back in this week. I mean,
Noah Brown.
Noah Brown. I mean, Stroud threw the ball 42 times, so like all of those 3 guys all had like 11 targets. Dalton Schultz had a really good game this week too.
Yeah.
And I think he had 2 touchdowns, didn't he?
I don't think
1 or
so.
2?
I think he had maybe
He might have. Yeah.
1 or 2.
Yeah. So I mean,
he had a great
Stroud
game.
was slinging that thing everywhere he could, and I like what they're doing in Houston. They get some pieces on the defensive side. And
the interesting thing is, Pierce was out.
Yeah.
Singletary was in, and Singletary was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't make our duds, but he was.
Well, he was probably still only projected at like 5 points, anyways. But even with because I can't imagine Dameon Pierce was projected over.
Well, I think they were.
points.
I think he was at 9.
Yeah.
Ish.
Okay.
Because I played him in the Dynasty.
Okay.
Because I figured, I have both of them.
Yeah.
So I figured, I'm going to play Dameon Pierce. If Dameon Pierce is out, I might as well play Singletary and get him all the points that Pierce would have gotten.
Well,
and it turned out to be like
correct.
5 points or something.
Yeah, the process, it was like the inverse of the process I had with DeAndre Hopkins last week with, the process says do not play him.
Right.
This says he should get a ton of opportunity and then did not capitalize on said opportunities.
Yep. Next we've got Josh Dobbs, the aforementioned Josh Dobbs, plus 25.75 points. 20 of 30 for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns, 7 rushes, 66 yards, and another touchdown. Pretty impressive debut for his second team of the season.
Yeah. Well, they said...
third if you count the preseason.
Yeah, they said since last year, like literally like a year ago, this is his 5th team. Yeah.
and he steps in.
Mm-hmm.
He gets traded on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And he starts on Sunday. I mean, he probably didn't get there until, I think, like Thursday.
Yeah, probably.
So he had a couple of days to learn some of the plays, a minimum a number probably, so that he could possibly fill in case of a concussion to the starter.
Yep.
And he comes in and he, 67% of his passes, 8 yards, 2 touchdowns, and rushes another 7 times.
Yeah, and I think he took a pretty big shot too. That they were worried about, him potentially sitting out, because then I was watching Red Zone and they were, they had it on that game and they were talking that apparently Cam Akers.
Yeah,
was their like last straw emergency quarterback.
Yeah, they don't have Thielen anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Thielen used to be their emergency QB. Next up, we've got Noah Brown. Big game. Plus 19.4 points. Caught all 6 of his targets, 153 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
When you've got C.J. Stroud slinging the ball like he was, and apparently very little coverage by the defense,
yeah,
you're going to have a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to see him here, Noah Brown here, probably at all. It'd definitely be probably either Nico Collins or Tank Dell, but you might have a couple, like you said, matchup based. Could show up. I mean, you 6 catches for 153 yards. That's a pretty good air yardage on all those targets.
25 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Next up, we've got Keaton Mitchell, running back for Baltimore, plus 18 points. He was 1 catch of 1 target for minus 4 yards, 9 rushes, 138 yards, and a TD. It's funny because he goes out and he runs 9 times for 138 yards. Gus Edwards is in there for 8 rushes and like 50 yards.
And 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. A 40-yard touchdown, 40-some yard touchdown by Mitchell and another 60-yard run. I mean, it's interesting.
So he was on IR to start the season because he got hurt in preseason.
Okay, and he was supposedly a preseason phenom.
Yeah, he looked really good in preseason. He's a smaller back,
right? 5'8" or so.
Yeah, definitely more of a slasher kind of guy. Like you said, you see the stat line 9 for 138. Sees a crease and he's gone kind of guy. I had picked him up and stashed him in my IR when they were saying he was going to start coming back, and then typical Baltimore, running 3-4 running backs at a time, if you include Lamar in there, so 4
and
running
Hill
backs,
and
and then Gus Edwards has that monster game last week, and then has another really nice game this week.
Oh yeah,
2 touchdowns. They like those 2 touchdowns they got down to like within the 5 yard line, right. And they're changing up personnel, and I'm like, oh, here's a Gus Edwards touchdown.
Yep.
Sure enough, handoff right there. Yep. And Lamar had he's not on the does list, but he had a pretty bad game.
A horrible
was
game.
A perfect matchup.
Yeah, he has not been. Granted, if you've got guys that can run it in from 3 to 5 yards out every time, you're going to give them the ball. That's their job.
Yeah.
But as an owner of Lamar, you sit there and you think, what are you doing?
Yeah,
this is supposed to be a top 5 QB.
Yeah, he didn't have to throw much.
No, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
bad.
He didn't have to throw much. He looked good running. I don't know what his total for yardage was, but every time they would flip to it, he was scrambling, and Lamar just in that game, especially in that game when he was running. It just looked like he's not even trying, and he's the fastest guy out there.
Yeah,
like it looks like he's just out for a nice jog when he's running. Some of those guys they just glide when they run, and then you got Isaiah Pacheco who's trying to punch holes in the earth with his feet, running pissed off.
Yep. Last guy, and I'm not saying that Keaton Mitchell is going to continue doing that. However,
I think you'll see a little more. I think he earned more involvement.
More so than Hill.
Oh, yeah, Justice Hill. Like I said, I just don't understand. I know Gus Edwards is not an all-star, running back. I mean, yes, he scores. He scores touchdowns. So that's been his thing. He's a big human being.
Jamal Gus Edwards.
Yes.
Williams.
Yeah. So I mean, I think hopefully they're smart enough. Harbaugh's smart enough in Baltimore to get Keaton Mitchell the ball some more. Use him a little more. I can see him using him a little more kind of gadgety, because he is a small, quick guy. So yeah, hopefully he gets more involved.
I don't know if I could tell you to run out and get him.
No. I mean, if you got room,
but
or
at
you
the
got
same
somebody, like I said, dynasty. I think dynasties, he's probably already, on a roster. But if you have a deeper bench in like a redraft league,
yeah, I'm sure Mike the Honcho has him
probably
in our league.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's if you can afford, the space on the back end of your roster, I think he's worth a stash.
I agree.
I mean, I'm stashing Leonard Fournette for the inevitable playoff Lenny, but
sure.
Yeah, I mean, Latavius Murray has been bad, and they don't trust James Cook around the goal line, so there's a decent enough chance that Lenny comes in. And
surprised they didn't make a trade.
Yeah, there was couple whispers of Derrick Henry as well, but
who knows?
So.
Last one is Nate. Can't call him Nate. Tank Dell, plus 16.29. He caught 6 of his 11. No.
Yeah.
Yep, 6 of 11 passes for 114 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushes for 2 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think did he catch a 2-point conversion as well?
He may have.
He might have, but yeah, I think the touchdown was the go-ahead touchdown there in the last 10-15 seconds or whatever it was. I mean, he had he was a guy too early in the season before he got hurt, had a couple bigger games because yardage and a touchdown. So
so at the end, were you watching that at all or paying attention?
Once they scored, I think red zone went
so
away.
You know what they did for their extra point? Well, they aren't going to kick it. They aren't going to kick it.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to take the chance of losing the ball, I believe.
True.
So he knelt down.
Stroud did?
Yeah.
I mean,
took a knee.
Yeah, it's a win. Whatever.
Well, it is as long as they don't kick a field goal. Because there was some time left.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it, but there was some time left that they a field goal wins the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was looking at that going, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why we don't get paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
Moving on to our duds. First, we've got a guy by the name of Daniel Jones, minus 14.68 points. He was 4 of 9 for 25 yards, and then he got injured. Which I'm not saying it's funny. It's interesting because I picked up Aiden O'Connell just in case Daniel Jones couldn't go. And I'm sitting there literally 5 minutes before the game going, Aiden O'Connell, Daniel Jones. I was looking, okay, how is Las Vegas's pass defense? Oh, it's better than the Giants. Who has a better run defense? Oh, I went, oh, you know what? I'm going to play Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
Now, it only accounted for about 10 points or so. But it put me in a position where I've got a chance to win.
Yeah.
How many more points? That's 1.25 points.
Mm-hmm.
He must have done something else too, because I thought he had like 2.5 points or something.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that sucks for the Giants,
especially after they just gave him $160 million or whatever.
Yeah, which was a little questionable. I think when that came out, a lot of people were like, I mean, I feel bad for him because he goes out there and is a true competitor. He's getting the absolute snot kicked out of him every week because they refuse to help him
on the offensive
line.
Yeah.
And same with the weapons there too. I mean they brought in Darren Waller, but he got injured and hasn't been what you expect. He was coming on a little bit.
Yeah, he's I sit there and I look at their receivers and I go, seriously?
Everybody except Darren Waller is a slot receiver on that team, basically.
How many slots are there?
I don't want to get into that. Yeah. Well, like I said, it just sucks for him because, I mean, granted, he got the money, but, he's a guy that wants to play.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy watching him because, it was like last season. He would just blow up random weeks.
Yes, he
a
would.
lot of rushing, famously the running, going for like an 80-yard touchdown and then tripped about 20 yards short. So, yeah, you just feel bad for him. And I think this is definitely going to put New York in the running. They have a pretty tough schedule coming up for the rest of the season because before I was kind of looking at maybe trying to make a move to send a little 2-for-1 to get Saquon for a little running back help, but looking at their schedule, their playoff schedule is brutal for Saquon, so I decided not to. So I think that's going to put New York in the running for one of those top handful of picks.
I mean, ACL, he should be back in 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
He's a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of his salary is guaranteed. I would think that he will do everything he can, and he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he, like you said, he's going to play hard no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to do everything he can to get back, and I think he's a top 15 quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, especially this year, you see all the backup matchups that were going on.
Yeah.
Bad quarterback matchups that were going on. I mean, I agree. I think, like I said, they just refuse to help him, with the offensive line or with any weapons. I mean, you got Saquon and Darren Waller who can't stay on. Saquon can't even stay on the field. I mean, he missed time this year too already. So it's just it's sad to watch what they put him through every week.
It is. I mean, maybe their money's tied up on the defensive side, kind of like the Packers did.
Could be. I think they have like their left or right tackle, Evan Neal, was the butt of everybody's jokes. I mean, seeing him on, clips of him, low lights of him on Twitter, just missing blocks flat out. He's been playing better, but I mean, he was horrible. I mean, they must have money tied up elsewhere that they just can't.
Yeah.
But they just are kind of stuck.
Yep.
So
surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we've got one of those people you just mentioned, Clayton Tune. Minus 11.93. He was 11 of 20 for 58 yards, 2 interceptions, 5 rushes, 28 yards.
Yeah, it was a bad matchup going against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Probably about one of the worst matchups you could get as a rookie coming in. And
kind of like we talked about running. What was it? Last week when we said that we probably could have run through some of the holes that were made, and I'd only take $1 million. I think I could have passed that well, or poorly.
Yeah,
but who knows? And they have to hope that Kyler's back soon.
Yeah, that or they're back on the old tank train again, and chugging towards a top pick. I mean there is a good chance that they let Kyler. They just keep him on PUP or shut him down for the season and say, we'll go get you some help, or
Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because, they still got Hollywood. You got Trey McBride who, is shaping up to be
is Ertz.
I don't know, but he's so old. I couldn't imagine they'd want to, I mean, I don't know, but.
Yeah, he's so old.
Well, football-wise.
Yeah. What is he, like 34?
Well, I mean, when you hear Zach Ertz, that's a guy where you go, God, he's still around kind of thing. Because all the years that he was one of the top 3-4 tight ends in Philadelphia, I mean, those are quite a few years. He's probably been in the league 8-9 years, if not more.
Well,
10 maybe.
It has to be more than that if he's in his mid-30s.
Mm-hmm, true. So, yeah.
I don't know. Next, we've got George Pickens, minus 10.61 or 81 or something. 205, minus 1 yards. And we talked about it.
Yeah, I was playing against him, so thank you. But as well, I also have him in Dynasty, and he is in my one of my flexes. So
Sorry.
that kind of sucked.
Well, and then he comes out and he starts talking. Opens his yap and starts scrubbing his Instagram of
all the Steelers stuff.
Yeah. Seriously, you're a second-year player. Shut up and play.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've got to say to you.
Yeah, I mean there are certain players that can do that,
right?
And as leverage, like I think we're talking about. I think Kyler had done that at one point with the Cardinals. He scrubbed everything, and they came out and did whatever they needed to appease him. But I mean, you're not going to do that for George Pickens. He's super talented, and he's had some big games. He did miss that touchdown by about 3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping out on the second foot. So could have salvaged it a little bit with that. But 5 targets, and that was a game that they were winning and then not. I mean, it was a close enough game, that you would have. I mean, Deontay Johnson had a huge game and finally got into the end zone after like a year. So
it was
he kind of
20 games or something.
Yeah, Jalen Warren had a pretty decent game too.
Yeah, I mean, here's the way I look at it. Let's say you're comparing yourself with Justin Jefferson. If Justin Jefferson, who has set records with receptions, etc., rookie, sophomore, into his junior year of the pros, for lack of a better term, if he says something, it means something. Yeah. George Pickens is, like you said, he's a good receiver, but you're no Justin Jefferson, you're no Devontae Adams. You're not a guy who can say something like that and expect that people will listen to you.
Yeah, and he's got a history of being hot-headed and loudmouth, kind of little attitude.
It's perfect that he's there because isn't that where Chase Claypool was?
Yeah, I mean George Pickens, I think he got suspended for like 2 games or a game because he punched a guy. He caught a touchdown and the DB got in his face.
I mean, pretty soon you're going to be like Chase, and you're going to go for a second round one place, and then you're going to go for like a flop of a 6th and a 7th to another place just because no one wants you.
Yeah, or like Mike McDaniels. Did you see the interview when after they traded for Chase? Mike McDaniels just goes, "He's really fast."
Good for him. Yeah. Saw him making mistakes too this past weekend. Next up, we've got Geno Smith, minus 9.73, 13 of 28, under 50%, 157 yards, 1 INT, 2 rushes, 4 yards. Heck of a game.
Yeah, it's been kind of gross in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenneth Walker was banged up, 2 weeks now? I think he played this. I didn't remember if he played. I didn't watch a whole lot of that game.
I think he did.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, and 50 of those yards from Geno Smith was on one catch and run by DK Metcalf.
Yep.
So
so he was 12 of 27 for 107 yards and an interception. Yeah. Minus that one play. You're right. I mean, I don't know how many times he even looked at DK.
Well, that was last week. DK had his stat line wasn't very good. He had 14 targets last week.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw a stat line and you're like, "Ooh, that's kind of gross." But then you saw his targets and you're like, "What the hell happened there?" So, yeah, I don't know what's going on in Seattle. I mean, they got the way the offense was last year,
right.
I said Geno was the most accurate quarterback last year. What the heck happened? Is he just revert back to old Geno Smith?
Yeah,
or is
they're all... Well, yeah, he signed a big 3-year contract, didn't he?
Yeah.
Now they're all sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
Last dud. This one surprises me, especially since they won. Travis Kelce. 3 catches. Minus 9.52 points. Yep. 3 catches, 4 targets. 4 targets is horrible.
Yeah.
Going to him. 14 yards. 14 yards.
Was Taylor at the game?
No, it was in Germany.
That's why.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it. That's it. End of discussion.
Yeah, he still usually does
Yeah.
considerably better than that, like
Yeah.
52 yards or something when
Mhm.
Taylor's not there. And
Yeah. So, yeah, that is a weird one. I think that's just going to be an outlier. I'm sure after the game or probably even at halftime, he was like, "Yo, Patrick, what's going on, dude?"
Rushy Rice
Yeah.
had another nice
Yep.
touchdown reception.
Yeah. McKinnon caught a touchdown. A little, that was like a
Yep.
20 yards. Maybe it was in the red
Little
zone.
dump off
but
and-
yeah, he took it to the house.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that was two. I mean, Miami wasn't really doing much to. That Kansas City defense is looking better than they did last year.
Okay, they look good this week. How'd
Yeah.
they look against Denver last week?
Well, yeah, terrible. But,
Although they gave the ball away 5 times last
yeah,
week. So,
I mean, fantasy-wise, I stupid me, I had dropped Kansas City because they have a bye coming up for Week 10 and picked up Tennessee because I went, Thursday night, Kenny Pickett, banged up with the ribs or something like that. There's no way Tennessee's not going to get a handful of sacks and maybe a pick. And, it's going to be, they're going to score 14 points, And then every time it was third down and 8 yards, deploying that we talked about it, the Green Bay defense where, here's 9 yards, to get you a first down. They couldn't stop him. But, I mean, the Kansas City defense is, minus Denver, is, for a kind of a down. I mean, it's been a down year for Mahomes, especially because he still went as one of the top 2-3 quarterbacks drafted in most leagues. I feel like probably some people might have switched him out for Herbert this year. I still
or
think
even
he was-
Josh Allen.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it was Josh Allen, then Jalen Hurts, and then either Mahomes or Herbert,
Gotcha.
and then followed by Burrow. But yeah, so a kind of down year. But I mean, their defense has been playing really well.
Mhm.
They're getting turnovers.
Right. And we've been talking about that ever since the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly. I think they look better than they did last year.
Oh, yeah,
As a
yeah.
whole, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
take it
Last year they were
basis,
horrible.
But yeah.
Until the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and like I said, outlier for Kelsey. You don't have to worry about him.
oh, no. I wouldn't worry much at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to our waiver wire. And I look at Josh Dobbs, if he's available.
Mm-hmm.
Tank Dell.
Mm-hmm.
Noah Brown,
I'd go
ish.
take Dell over.
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I would too. But a lot of times,
If they're
Tank
gone,
Dell is
yeah,
already gone
yeah.
in our league.
Yeah.
Keaton Mitchell,
Mhm.
potential, especially if something happens to Gus Edwards,
Mm-hmm.
I think it becomes Keaton Mitchell's job.
Yeah, I mean, about the only thing, like I said, just his size, they would still use Justice Hill.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which would be frustrating. But yeah, like I said, I think even then this week, with how the two backs looked, I think Mitchell is definitely, it said if they're smart, he's going to be the number 2 to Gus Edwards. Or he might even end up being, kind of like the James Cook situation in Buffalo, where between the 20s,
Right.
he's the guy. And, you might get Murray in there, for a couple snaps, or Gus Edwards or Justice Hill for a couple snaps. But, it could be something where he's the guy in between the 20s, and then they roll out the Gus bus when they get near the end zone.
Yep.
So,
Very possible.
yeah.
Another person I see is Cade Otton. Saw a lot of targets.
Yeah, 2
A lot of
touchdowns
catches.
for
Yep.
him. I think he had a touchdown week prior or the week prior to that. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been getting more involved. There's Baker spreading the ball a little bit more. Like I said, Mike Evans has been, still being okay, but not what he was right away in the beginning of the season. So, I like Cade Otton, especially bye weeks or, you've just been streaming tight ends. He might be a guy you can pick up and just throw in there,
Right.
for a couple weeks. So
And the last one on my waiver wire is Dalton Kincaid. Would have had
if he's out there, go grab him.
yeah, but,
Absolutely.
I think he had 11 targets yesterday. He had what do you have, like 81 yards or something?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he had a fumble.
Yeah,
That must have been right down near the goal line.
I think it was. I didn't.
I wasn't
physically
watching
see
at the
it, but
time.
yeah, I think it was.
Which is too bad because I've got him, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden I saw that he fumbled, and I'm like, oh, it's right in the red zone.
Mhm.
all I needed was that touchdown. You know, it's a swing of 8 points, 9 points.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, if Kincaid is somehow still out there.
yeah, I don't know how he would be,
but
other than in really, I'm in an 8-team league. Kincaid is not on a roster.
Yeah, well, yeah, stuff like that, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's about all I could think of for some waiver wire targets.
Yeah, I mean there are some flash in the pans. I just, it's hard to say. Sell high. The only one I can really think of, and I'm sure there are others, but not that I necessarily want to get rid of, because we could continue to say Devontae Adams, but I think his value has gone down considerably.
Oh yeah, you're not going to get even. I mean, name value right now is the only thing holding up Devontae Adams.
Right. I mean, I really thought. I mean, we talked about it last Tuesday. I mean, within it must have been, like you said, it must have been occurring while we were talking. Because I said, maybe Devontae and whatever said, as long as you get rid of the coach and possibly the GM, I'll stay. Otherwise, trade me. And boom, that night, into the next morning, we hear that Josh McDaniels gone, GM gone, offensive coordinator, I think it was, gone.
Oh yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, they got the assistant coach or whatever.
Yeah, maybe he was the offensive coordinator. Or someone else was gone.
Well, yeah, now they're interim right now. He's former player, loves all the guys, and they came out and played.
And I really thought that I'd see more opportunities for Devontae, and they
all turned into Josh Jacobs having he had 2 touchdowns. It
I know
a ton of yardage, but he had a lot of.
Well, carries. it was like he got to 100, then he lost 3, he broke 100. He was at like 101, and then had a 3-yard loss to put him back to 98 or something. So it was 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he may have had a catch or 2 to go with it. Great game. I just, like I said, I was surprised because, I was playing Aiden O'Connell, so I was kind of hoping that they might do something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Myers caught a touchdown too.
Yeah.
And had a couple.
Unfortunately, I was also playing against their kicker.
Oh.
So they'd get down there and they'd kick a field goal. 3 field goals. I played Cleveland's kicker,
Hopkins.
Dustin Hopkins.
Too. Yeah.
Who had a good game, and I left Younghoe Koo on the bench.
Yeah.
10-point difference in kickers right there. His kicker got like 16. So it was just I just kept on wishing, Aiden, just throw that into the end zone. Devontae's going to be open. Just come on. No,
trust Devontae to do his job.
Devontae.
He will get it done. So
I do have a couple of buy lows.
Well, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't ever say. Rashad White.
Yeah.
Rashad White has come out and put a couple of good games together.
Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 on this. Like, I agree, but then at the same time, it's like he's super involved, right? I mean, at least right now.
I'm not saying that you should sell him necessarily if you have a need for him.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you've got the opportunity, his value is really, really, really high right now.
Yeah.
And you might be able to get enough back. If he's, depending upon how deep your league is, if he's your third back or one of 3 starters that you've got, his value is so high right now that you could probably get a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's kind of like right now, would I trade? I thought about, what about Ramondre Stevenson? But in my league, Ramondre Stevenson is my second running back.
Yeah.
And my third was Akers, and my fourth is Gainwell. So I don't have a lot. Yeah. Luckily, I played this week without CMC in all 3 of my leagues, and I still have a chance to win all 3 of my games.
Yep.
And I get him back, but there's still, Ramondre has a bye, I believe, next week, and I'm going to have to have a running back for that. It would have been Akers. Now it's
Yeah.
going to be Gainwell. And I wish I would have played Gainwell yesterday instead of Akers because he ended up with the early touchdown.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so it's more a question of can you afford in a 16-team 2 running back league? No, you're not. You're probably not trading away a starter unless you were lucky. I mean, if Akers would have kept the job, that starting job in LA, yes, I would have traded Ramondre or Akers along with another piece to get a top wide receiver. So it's situational. I just know that his value is high right now. Buy low, Bijan Robinson. Do you think they'll ever use him? I mean, that was what we talked about early on. Do you think they're going to actually utilize Bijan this year? Like, everyone was talking about. He's a top 5 pick. And there are people who, I think he went top 5 in my 32 or my 16-team league.
Yeah, I mean, you look at you just looked, I mean, granted, yes, they still have Algier, who was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, and nobody expected him to just fall off the map as soon as they knew he was going to be involved. But with how much Atlanta ran the ball last year and used the, Algier and Huntley too, that, and then Cordero Patterson the year before, who was a stud most of the season. Like 3/4 of the season, he was like number 3 running back.
And he wasn't he a wide receiver that year?
Yeah, I think he was both. Yeah.
So I actually had him, and I played him in the wide receiver slot, and he was getting running back touches.
Yeah. And touchdowns. He scored a lot of touchdowns that year. So, yeah, I mean, you looked at the when they drafted him, you were looking at the season, and you're like, he could get like a Derrick Henry level, like 300 plus carries this year. And if he was on pace for that right now, he probably would be in the top 4 for fantasy running backs right now. But
big if.
They just...
But you've got Arthur Blank trying to piss off fantasy owners.
Yeah. It's just... I don't understand. It's the same like we talked about. There's certain... play call situations where you're like, all right, it's going to be one of these 2 plays, and sure enough, it's one of those 2 plays. The defense knows that too. I don't know. I mean, if I was the defense and, you're on the 1-yard line and you see Tyler Algier lined up in the backfield, I'm feeling pretty good that we're going to be able to stop it. You see Bijan, there's that hint of fear because, he bounces it outside.
Some of the moves that he's made where
low it, he can really bring a hit. I mean, I just don't understand. Just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, he should be getting 20 carries and 8 targets a week.
Agreed.
That's
Agreed.
just what
he is definitely a Kamara, Eckler-esque type player. Can make the rushing plays, and he's exciting, and can catch the ball, and is exciting. Yeah. And they're not using it.
Well, like you say, exciting. That's a good word for it too, because he goes out and jukes a guy out of his cleats.
Yeah.
The rest of the offense and the team is like, holy shit.
Yeah. They build off of that.
Yeah, that's momentum. That's you get everybody, their energy back up, and then you throw a Tyler Algier out there, and he gets 3 yards on a carry, or
then -1,
or you're on the 3-yard line and you have Kyle Pitts blocking for Jonnu Smith, who's throwing a touchdown or trying to throw a touchdown to their 3rd string tight end. That actually happened the last week. They had Kyle Pitts blocking for Jonnu Smith, who's rolling out to try and throw it into the end zone for their 3rd string tight end. That's the offensive genius we're dealing with in Atlanta right now. So
I'm not even going to comment because it wouldn't be something nice to say about Atlanta. So my last buy low is Alexander Madison.
He got a little more expensive.
He did,
but yes.
But at the same time, he has been pedestrian at best.
No.
Doesn't look like a stud running back. Hence, they brought in Akers. Akers, injured, out for the season. yeah, someone might say, yeah, but he's the only guy now. And
I think that's going to be the argument if you are one try to go and get Madison. That's going to be the argument as well. Yeah. He's the lone back now, and all this, and it's like, well, we saw 5 weeks of that.
Yeah,
and it wasn't anything to write home about.
Right.
So
willing to take him off your hands.
Yeah.
And give you a decent player.
Yeah, like I said, you just hope Dobbs can with his rushing, threat, I guess, because Kirk Cousins wasn't a rushing threat.
Right.
Hopefully that can help open up the rushing game for Alexander Madison too. Just with the pass, throw, play action, you set up play action, but you actually hand it off, and, so they're...
Wait, you can do that on an RPO?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought that was just... I thought RPO was... Run, pass, option, but you had to throw.
I mean, everybody just pulls it anyways.
It seems
you're
like
supposed to read the D end or, whoever's at the end there.
Right.
But, yeah, so... Yeah, RPO is just... It's play action.
Yeah. So, loser of the week, which is really becoming redundant.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned a woman in one of my leagues who continued to play Akers, continued even when he was out after he got traded, blah, blah, blah. She played him again. Now, that's fine. He played this week.
Mm-hmm.
But she kept Josh Jacobs on her bench. Not the smartest thing to do, but, we'll let that one go.
It's a bold strategy.
But then on top of it, she ended up playing Darren Waller out instead of Njoku, who would have gotten her 12 points.
That's just negligence.
I mean, I'm playing against her. It's the second time she's... Well, I will have the high score of the week without CMC. So she wasn't going to beat me either way, just like the last time she played me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why you get into a fantasy league if you're not. I mean, she's new to the league this year,
mm-hmm.
and my buddy who runs it said, "Oh yeah, she's serious into." Now, funny thing is, as of right now, she's in second place, in spite of not.
Yeah.
Running her team.
Oh, I would be so upset if I was in that league and I was below in the under her in the standings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she drafts a good team.
Yeah.
But then run your team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
But Karen, you are our loser of the week. So we will not be having another podcast this week.
Mm-hmm.
I will try and get some info out. We will try and get maybe our picks of the week out on Instagram,
mm-hmm.
so that you at least know who we're thinking as far as players to look at outside the top 6
mm-hmm.
That are recommended by, and we know how great those recommendations are by what I left in last time, so you guys could all see that. And then we'll try and do it'll probably be next Wednesday,
mm-hmm.
not Tuesday, depending upon how everything works out. So until then, I am Ozzy.
And I'm Austin.
Have a great week.
See ya.